Hello and welcome. It's the opening weekend of the Champions Cup and it's Bristol Bears versus Leinster, and this is all you need to know ahead of it. The game will be played at Bristol's Ashton Gate Stadium. The teams have been announced today, and the Leinster team is as follows: Jack Boyle, Ronan Kelleher, Rabah Samani, Joe McCarthy, James Ryan, Max Deegan, Josh van der Fleer, and as captain, Jack Conan, Jemison Gibson Park, Sam Prendergast, Jimmy O'Brien, Robbie Henshaw, Gary Ringrose, Jordan Larmour, and Kieran Frawley. The replacements are as follows: Gus McCarthy, Andrew Porter, Thomas Clarkson, R.G. Snyman, Caelan Doris, Luke McGrath, Ross Byrne, and a little unknown player called Geordie Barrett. So that's 9 changes to the starting 15 that beat Ulster last weekend. Also on the bench, R.G. Snyman is the only remaining player from last week's bench, with the Ireland returnees Gus McCarthy, Andrew Porter, Thomas Clarkson, Caelan Doris, and again, a little known player called Geordie Barrett, all joining the bench for this week. Leo Cullen was up for media not that long ago, and he confirmed that Hugo Keenan and James Lowe are injured. Hugo Keenan picked up a wrist injury during Ireland's win over Australia in the Autumn Nation Series, and he said that the timeline for his recovery is about 4 weeks. And James Lowe, he picked up a calf injury, but there's no timeline on that as yet. He said that they probably know a bit more next week. Also, he was asked about Geordie Barrett, and he said it was great to have a player of his calibre in the building. He said they were a bit worried injury-wise because he had been carrying an injury, but that had cleared up and he's ready to go. He arrived last Wednesday, and he said it was really useful having up in Belfast. He was seen as a water boy running onto the pitch for Leinster, but it was good to kind of get him to know the setup, get him to know the players, all that kind of stuff. And he says still early days, but he's good to go this weekend to make an appearance off the bench. Also, he's asked about Sam Prendergast, and he said that he'd gone really well across the Autumn Nation Series. He said selection had been a challenge this week, given the injury to Hugo Keenan and James Lowe. So it was all about trying to make good calls and create a balance within the team. Also, he said that considering that he'd started for Ireland at 10 for the past couple of weeks, it seemed like the right call for to have him start this game. He also said that the relationship he had built up with Jemison Gibson Park throughout those games was an important factor. And it was pleasing to see how much that he'd progressed over the 4 weeks of the Autumn Nation Series, and also that the Ireland national coaches had shown a lot of confidence with him starting him against Australia. Leo also said he was pleased how they had 3 new Irish internationals coming back into camp this week, with Sam, Gus McCarthy, and Thomas Clarkson, of course. Leo Cullen also said there was a big focus on the 23 rather than the 15. He said, given that Bristol like to keep the ball on the field and they've a really strong running game, but a big thing that he kept emphasising was enjoying this game, going out and enjoying being in the Champions Cup again, and enjoying having everyone back in camp again. That was a real focus of their sessions this week. He was also asked about Kieran Frawley starting at fullback, with the whole chatter about him, Sam Prendergast and Jack Grady. And he said it was more this week, the selection was more about the squad and the group that was needed, with Jamie Osborne out, with Hugo Keenan out. He also noted that Kieran Frawley had a good run against Fiji at 15. He also had a really good relationship with Sam Prendergast. Something that I really noticed, the attack and the relationship between them two worked really well. And he kind of just said any conversations about tens and stuff had to be put aside this week. He said that Kieran Frawley had been outstanding on his return from the Ireland camp, and that he just felt that combo of him at 15 and Sam Prendergast at 10 would work really well for Leinster. The team selection wasn't looking at any particular development for any player. It was what works best for Leinster for this game. Leo Cullen also cleared up a bit of information about the injury to Tadhg Furlong. He confirmed that he had a niggle, obviously going in to the Autumn Nation Series, and that he had a setback, because we had seen him train with Ireland a few times, but obviously he had a setback. It wasn't a new injury, it was a setback with that existing calf issue, and that he said the timeline for his return was a couple of weeks. He hoped to be a bit quicker, but at the moment the estimate is a couple of weeks. And the Bristol team is as follows: Ellis Genge, Harry Thacker, Max Laheath, James Dunn, Joe Owen, Santiago Grondona, Fitzharding, Villa Ami Mata, Harry Randall, AJ McGinty, Gabrielle Ibatoya, Bernard Janse von Rensburg, Calavetti Ravovo, Jack Bates, and Rich Lane. And the replacements or system players, as they call them, is Gabrielle O'Gray, Jack Woolmore, Lovejoy Choatama, Stephen Luatua, Benjamin Grondona, Kieran Marmion, Joe Jenkins, Benjamin Elisalde. Pat Lam has named 3 changes to the starting 15 who beat Quins last weekend, with Randall, Genge and Thacker replacing Marmion, Woolmore and O'Gray, who are now on the bench. Obviously, England's Ellis Genge and Harry Randall have returned after the Autumn Nation series. In terms of the last meeting, is a bit of time travelling. They last met nearly 22 years ago on January 19th, 2003 at Memorial Stadium. Leinster won 25-12 that time. There was 4 tries from none other than Brian O'Driscoll, a try from Shane Horgan and 2 tries from Aidan McCullen. Felipe Contraponi, he was actually playing 10 for Bristol Bears during that game. He signed for Leinster later that year when Bristol were relegated. He also met previously, the previous October, at Energia Park, Donnybrook, Dublin. That's where Leinster used to play all their games before they moved to the RDS. And now for this season, obviously the Aviva. Leinster also won that 29-23. Leo Cullen was actually playing in that particular game for Leinster. And just looking at Bristol's form, they're second in the Gallagher Premiership, just under Bath on points difference with the same points of 29 points. They've played 7 and won 5 and lost 2. They've won their last 2 from 3 games. Their last time out was November 29th, so last weekend. They had a 48-24 away win against Quins at the Stoop. That was 6 tries to 4 for them. They've had 36 tries so far this season and an average of 5 tries per game. Last season, they took the spot of London Irish in the Champions Cup. They lost 3 of their 4 pool games, though, so they didn't make it out of their pool. Looking at Leinster's form this season, they've won 7 from 7 in the URC. They're sitting top of that URC table with 34 points. Their last game out was against Ulster last Friday. That was a 27-20 away win at Ravenhill. That was 4 tries to 2. They've scored 32 tries so far this season, so it's an average of 4.5 tries per game. Leinster last season, they made it to the final, beating Tigers, La Rochelle and Saints to get there, but they lost out to Toulouse in that final. The ref for Sunday's game is France's Pierre Brousset. And it's an all-French refereeing team with Vincent Blasco back and Julien Callier as the assistant referees. And then TMO is Tuel Tranini from France as well. In terms of TV, there's no free-to-air coverage this week. It's only available on Premier Sports 1 from 5:15 p.m. There's no radio coverage also in Ireland, but if you're in the UK, you can listen in on BBC Radio Bristol. The weather, it's meant to be partly sunny and windy with highs of 9 degrees and lows of 5 degrees. There's a less than 5% chance of rain, but that's not always accurate. It will still be a bit blustery given that the UK is under a wind warning until Sunday morning due to Storm Dara. And in terms of the other Irish Champions Cup and Challenge Cup fixtures for this weekend, Munster face Stade Francais at Thomond Park tomorrow. That's Saturday, the 7th of December from 5:30 p.m. Ulster take on the current champions Toulouse on Sunday, the 8th at 3:15 Irish time at Stade Ernest Vallon. Connacht take on Zebra in the Challenge Cup on Saturday at 8 p.m. at the Dexcom Sports Ground Stadium. And that's all you need to know ahead of Bristol versus Leinster on Sunday, the 8th of December at 5:30 p.m. Just one last thing, please like and subscribe. I will be back with a video going through Ireland's stats for 2024, like a kind of Spotify wrapped for Irish rugby in 2024. So please watch out for that. Other than that, I will be back next week with more Champions Cup updates. Talk to you then. Bye now.